Honestly, I'm making this video to justify the amount of hours and time I've played games as of late. So there's that. The value of the video game market in 2020 last year was an estimated $64 billion. In a year where we all spent a little bit more time inside, gaming as an entertainment platform saw a huge surge. Whether it was players playing video games or heck, people watching people play it. Twitch alone saw a 26% increase in users to 41.5 million people. All in all, what I'm trying to say here is video games are here to stay, and they're far from the age-old mentality that they'll rot your eyes out, where gaming across many platforms, genres, ages, and demographics exists and is more accessible and popular than ever. With that, my name's Adrian Kogirin for Digital Dojos, and today we're going to be taking a look at the state of gaming PCs versus consoles in 2021. So, the age-old debate, PC master race, consoles, so on and so forth. Let me tell you what this video is and isn't. This video is not a way for me to say this one is, the end-all, be-all, and so on and so forth. If anything, this video is meant to help and give you an idea of the state of where both lie, in my opinion, as well as give a sense of if you can only invest in one right now, if you can only put your money towards one way or the other, what you should consider and why I think one trumps the other in certain categories. So with that, let's dive into it. I recently picked up a PlayStation 5, the highly coveted PlayStation 5, and it really reminded me of my nostalgia, my love of console gaming that initially sparked my interest in games to begin with. And my evolution starts from the N64 all the way up to the PS2 and Xbox, eventually leading me to the world of PC. And I've had my share of both. And here's the thing, and having played both as of recent. Let's start with the category of barrier to entry, how easy it is to get into a certain environment, whether it's console or PC gaming. This, by far, easily goes to consoles. In me picking up the PS5, even though that in itself was not easy and I had to pay aftermarket, that's a whole separate stock situation that just exists across everything right now in the world of tech. Setting it up out of the box, taking it, plugging it in, turning it on, it's as simple as that. And that's something you need to consider at scale for most people. There's not a learning curve. You plug it in and it works, right? Another idea of consoles is the price point and the affordability. At face value, consoles tend to be cheaper, right? And when it comes to people, and especially a younger demographic, if people are buying them consoles, it's an easier sell in a sense to just get the next gen current console. Where when it comes to buying a PC for gaming, there's so many different layers to that, right? There is this kind of learning curve and understanding of a custom-built PC, pre-built PCs, manufacturer gaming PCs, and what's a good deal, what's good hardware, all of these different things that you need to consider when it comes to PC gaming. And it's the reason why it can be very daunting for a lot of people who want to get in the PC gaming space, but they don't know how to build a computer or anything about computers. And again, it's a reason why people stay out of it and just go the console route, and that's understandable to some degree. So in terms of barrier to entry, consoles have always had that edge in terms of simplicity, ease of use, and not having so much of a learning curve there. However, in the next category, performance, in terms of raw output options and flexibility and upgrades, PC is the crown winner here by far. Don't get me wrong, I have been on this next-gen console like the PS5, and I've experienced the Series X and so on and so forth. Even the Nintendo Switch, not being a current-gen console, or next-gen console, I should say, has phenomenal tech behind it and its whole option of portability. These have phenomenal hardware backing it nowadays, right? The gap that we were at previous years where PCs were so light years ahead of consoles, we're definitely at a much closer point in that time frame where you have the flash storage, you have PCIe 4.0 support, and NVMe storage and all of that allow for quicker loading times, great optimization on the software end, great GPU and CPU and all the teraflops you could want. What I'm trying to say is that you get amazing performance out of these next-gen consoles. Don't get me wrong, 4K support, 120 hertz, all the good stuff that's going to be coming out. And with that, when it comes to console gaming, you tend to see better optimization at a game level because manufacturers are building for one specific subset of hardware versus an infinite amount of solutions that can exist on a PC. But even with all that said, the varying hardware is also the blessing and curse of PCs in that There's so much upgradability options. There's so many high-end cards and configurations you can go with that allow you to push the game even further if the developers allow you to. It's the reason why 4K gaming, 120 hertz, 240 hertz, 360 hertz nowadays exist in the PC space, because of the ability to push and use that early adoption technology on platforms like PC. So performance-wise, pure output, pure flexibility, and upgradability, because you can continue to upgrade cards and CPUs and whatnot, it's got to go to PC. Next up, game selection and libraries. The ability to get games, where you can get them, how much they cost, is almost just as important as the platform and that you pick, or I guess it factors in the platform that you might pick, I should say, because there are certain games that you can only get on one or the other, and consoles tend to have more of that first-party exclusivity to it, right? Because manufacturers own, Sony or Microsoft own these consoles and have deals with game studios or outright own game studios to develop games for their platforms to draw in people, right? Think Halo for Xbox, think Gears of War, think Last of Us or Ghost of Tsushima for PlayStation. While technology is advanced and we're seeing things like cross-platform compatibility, where it doesn't matter what platform you're on for games like Rocket League or Fortnite or Call of Duty, for example, that's just better for gamers everywhere. There are still certain first-party exclusives that you have to be on one platform or the other to get. In terms of AAA titles, however, we're seeing a lot of them get ported both ways, to the PC or to the consoles, sort of they exist across the board there. But all that in mind, and even with the great first-party exclusives, I still think the PC as a whole here and at scale has better deals, has better selections, and better marketplaces when it comes to games. You can buy games from Steam, you can buy games from EA or Origin, you can, Ubisoft has its own thing. There's just so many different places and ways you can get games on the PC that it also drives the pricing market down in the sense that you have more deals, more sales on the PC side of things in comparison to consoles. There's a reason Nintendo, for example, who has such a historic franchise and exclusive rights to their titles, can continue to charge $60 to $70 for titles that have been out for multiple years on the Nintendo Switch, where if you look at titles that have been out for the same period of time on the PC, even if they're PC exclusives, likely you can get them for like 30, 40, 50% off at times, right? That PC market and the flexibility there just tends to be better on that side of things. Not to mention things like backwards compatibility. Even though the next-gen consoles have done a phenomenal job with this and have done more and more supporting certain titles and games, not everything is out there, right? Not everything is there, and not everything is in that sweet spot. There's modifications, there's things you can do, but on the PC, there's not a lot of tinkering you have to do when it comes to backwards compatibility. As long as you have the download source, it's likely going to work. So gaming, the game selection, the library, for me, goes to PC gaming. Lastly, I want to wrap up with some miscellaneous thoughts in my experience thus far on both sides. There's something to be said for that console experience, kicking back on your couch and playing games, just turning on the controller and having the console boot up on your big screen TV. It's something I've really missed with my whole PC setup. I have a triple monitor setup, or 4 monitors actually set up in front of me, and it's still nice to just kind of kick back on the couch and lounge in the living room and play video games. Not to say that you can't do that with a PC. I have a PC actually in my living room as well for VR games and whatnot, but it's not as optimized or as built for that level of experience that a console is, right? And that ease of use. In terms of consoles, there's also something to be said of just being able to plug in and play. With next-gen titles that come out on PCs, one thing we always consider when I play with a bunch of my friends is, one, can everybody play it, right? That's always a question, because not everybody's on the same hardware. Some people have better hardware, some people have hardware that might be older and not support certain games as well, and they have issues running it because of frames or what have you. There's a whole bunch of variables there when it comes to playing with your friends on the PCs that can affect certain experiences. Where in consoles, you tend to be on a more even playing field, a la exceptions like internet or bandwidth. So that's something to consider. That said, for PCs, though, there's nothing that beats the customization, the physical aspect of being able to pick your case, choose your case, swap out parts, upgrade storage, unlike that of consoles, right? Consoles are getting better at offering some options here with next-gen hardware, but at the end of the day, you're not going to beat the ability to have your crazy RGB setup, your steampunk PC, or your minimal white and black PC, like you are with a console, right? The PC side of things just offers that better level of customizations. And for me, that's why in 2021, I'm still mainly a PC gamer first and foremost. But ultimately, with all of you, it's going to come down to what you want to play and who you play with. And where does a majority of your friends play? What games do they play? Is it exclusive to a specific platform or a console or what have you? That's what's going to weigh your decision at the end. And in my situation, I have the best of both worlds. I use my console right now strictly for single player titles I've missed out on. It's a great experience for me to play campaign and just single mode story games. Whereas when it comes to anything online and multiplayer, I'm seated here at the desk. I'm on Discord. I'm playing with my friends in that capacity, right? So it's always going to be subjective. At the end of the day, there's no one is better than the other. They have certain situations that they're better for. But what matters most is if you're having fun and you're playing games with the people that you want to be playing games with. And whatever that platform is, whatever that console is going to be subjective to that. So I hope this video helps some of you steer you in the right direction, at least initially or overall. If you enjoyed, be sure to hit that thumbs up, like button, subscribe for more content in the technology field. And as always, I'm Adrian for Digital Dojos, and thanks a lot for watching.